Hello everyone. This is the second video lecture of week 14. My goal is to talk about the historical context of Byzantine Constantinople that we are studying this week. That's our primary focus. We're looking at the urban space of Constantinople, how it's shaped, how it's configured, at the time of the height of the Byzantine Empire. This will give us a kind of a political, cultural, and social context for the architectural developments in Constantinople at this time. 2 weeks ago, we looked at Jerusalem, mostly at the time of late antiquity. Also at the time of Constantine the Great, as you will remember, on the Levantine coast, you can see Jerusalem and Constantinople and their relationship to each other. Jerusalem is located in southern Levant, the eastern Mediterranean coast, closer to its connection to the Sinai Peninsula and Egypt and Africa, whereas Constantinople is located on the Bosphorus Straits that connects the Aegean Sea to the Lake of Marmara, the Sea of Marmara, and the Black Sea in the north. So very different climates, very different locations, but there were contemporary developments that were happening between Constantinople and Jerusalem. We looked at a lot of architectural projects that Constantine the Great had sponsored, particularly reconstruction of some of the holy places for Christianity in Jerusalem. Right around that time, he was also busy building his capital city at Constantinople. And so, just a quick recall from 2 weeks ago when we were covering Jerusalem. We looked at how the conversion of Constantine, if you remember, and up until that time, Christianity was rather an illegal religion, underground religion, and with Constantine's promotion, it was a kind of a really turning point for early Christianity and the spread of Christianity. That actually followed by Constantine's transfer of the Roman capital from Rome to Byzantium, sort of really becoming the capital city of the Eastern Roman Empire, the city of Constantinople, which was also referred to at this time as a Nova Roma, the New Rome, which became modern Istanbul. And this corresponded, if you recall, the kind of rapid spread and institutionalization of Christianity within the Roman Empire after the 4th century as well. We talked about the sort of landscape of pilgrimage, the developing landscape of pilgrimage, and the prosperity in the countryside as we looked sort of really to the south, to Jerusalem. So if you look at the location of Constantinople, we're actually talking about Byzantium. There was already a settlement at the site, at the place of Constantinople. Before Constantine, it was actually a colony, a Greek colony from 7th century BC, settled by the people of Megara in the 7th century BC, and became a strong and powerful city actually in the Iron Age, as well as in the Hellenistic and Roman imperial periods. So Constantine was not setting up a city from scratch, but he was taking over this already ancient city at Byzantium. If you look at the location, at a very important location controlling the Bosphorus Straits, which constitutes this kind of seafaring crossing for ships coming down from the Mediterranean going up into the Black Sea. And so a trade route that is a very significant trade route, particularly for the transport of grains, the grain trade in Greek, Hellenistic, and Roman periods particularly. Byzantium was located right in the southern end of the Bosphorus Straits, which actually, those straits that we see like a river was actually formed by a major geological event around 5000 BCE. That's about 7,000 years ago. Geologically speaking, it's actually a fairly new geological formation we're talking about. If you look at the more detailed map, you will see Byzantium. The city is referred to in its 4 different names. Byzantium was the name of the city before Constantine. With Constantine's refoundation of the city, it became Constantinople, Constantinopolis, the city of Constantine. Once it was conquered by the Ottomans under the leadership of Mehmed II, Mehmed the Conqueror. In 1453, it was became Der Saadet, or also it was referred to as Constantiniye. Finally, in 1922, when it after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the establishment of the modern Turkish Republic, it's now known as Istanbul. And if you look at the detailed map here, the historical peninsula, you can see the Byzantine harbors in the south. The Golden Horn is actually a very fascinating inlet of the Bosphorus Straits. From the Bosphorus Straits, actually fed by 2, it's an estuaries of the 2 rivers, Alibeköy and Kaltane. Rivers, it's a natural horn-shaped estuary. And a very sheltered harbor that was kind of really one of the most important strengths of the city, is having this kind of incredibly beautiful and sort of well-sheltered harbor for the ships, but also allowing the Imperial Peninsula to be very well protected, very well protected indeed. Here's a 1860-70 German map of Ottoman era Istanbul, showing this the Golden Horn, as well, and you can see maybe my cursor, and the 2 rivers that are feeding the estuaries, feeding the Golden Horn, or as it is known today as Hadij. And we will look at more closely at this topography of the city. Here's a panorama of Constantinople by photographer Basil Kargopoulou, who lived between 1826 and 1886. Which actually shows you in the lower half, you see actually a beautiful sort of panorama of the Golden Horn, taken from the hills of to the south from Galata, the Galata Tower that we talked about in the previous lecture. Constantine, we talked about Constantine and his radical transformation. So that he's actually a very he's now known as the kind of really founder of the city, and this is very very important. And not only founded Constantinople, but carried out a very rigorous architectural campaign in shaping the city really establishing an entirely new urban format into how Byzantium was organized. And so we're going to look at the details of that transformation, Constantine's city, in the next lecture more clearly. But after Constantine, from Constantine to Justinian particularly, we're actually talking about really this constant sort of elevation of really the flourishing of the Byzantine Empire. And we can talk about Justinian's dynasty from in the 6th century as really the height of the territorial expansion of the Byzantine Empire. You will hear about Empress Theodora, who was also a politically powerful figure as well. This is the time of the codification of the Roman law, Corpus Juris Civilis, major bureaucratic innovations taking place, and the establishment and characterization of a theocratic state we're talking about, which takes Orthodox Christianity as the only lawful religion of the empire at this time. Other versions, other sects of Christianity are considered at this time heresies. And where the emperor was considered to be a kind of quasi-divine figure, an almost divine figure, who was the earthly substitute of Jesus Christ. And he would actually perform the rule of Jesus in very many ceremonies that actually took place in Constantinople. The building of Constantinople then, it was refounded by Constantine as the new Byzantine capital city with a very large architectural program that we will look at. But at the time of Constantine, there was, we see another very important development of the city. When really the city emerges as the kind of remarkably novel and innovative center of an empire, with its very distinctive style and very an entirely new visual and spatial vocabulary. And we will see some of that in the next lecture in talking about this kind of early Byzantine art. And some of this is actually also, we're very lucky to have a number of textual accounts like that of Procopius, Justinian's court historian, whose text on the buildings actually inform us particularly about Justinian's building projects in Constantinople. As you can see, as the center, as the capital city of the empire, Constantinople was really the focus, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, and all of the sort of major architectural innovations, major urban planning projects actually took place in it. In the next lecture, we will look at this imperial sort of architecture. You're seeing, I'm showing you a virtual reconstruction of Byzantine Constantinople, and we will look at the specifics of these Byzantine building projects particularly from Constantine and his refoundation of the city to the architectural project of Justinian, and in the distance you're actually seeing Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia, the most famous sort of monument of Justinian's time, and I will finish that lecture with by discussing Hagia Sophia with you as well in the liturgies that are taking place. So. Thank you.